Greetings and good evening, dear ladies and gents. This is, of course, your favorite Shogun here, Sugi, and today I'm going to be reviewing the brand new Bleach season, also known as the 1000-Year Blood War. Now, going back to maybe 4 or 5 years ago, actually quite many creators were saying that Bleach was never gonna come back, and I never believed that because we had cases like with Inuyasha, which ran from 2000 till 2004, and then it went on for an over 5-year break, and then they brought it back in 2009 to basically finish up the last arc of the manga. And they kind of did the same with World Trigger, which ran from 2014 till 2016, and then in 2020 they basically brought it back for the season 2. So you have these certain cases with these long-running manga series that actually sell well. There's always a financial incentive to bring them back. I'm not saying that shows like Hitman Reborn will ever come back. More likely that they will reboot it altogether and skip out all the fillers, and they might do the same treatment, for example, with Toriko. But Bleach was always kind of obvious case to me because it was really a very high-selling manga in Japan. It was, profitable for them. It was making them money. So they had all the financial incentives basically eventually bringing it back, even though there has been this huge 10-year gap basically between, when the original anime ended. And maybe if there wouldn't be a COVID or something, this could have gone, 2 years earlier or something. But I guess they just wanted to strive for the 10-year anniversary and play into that whole nostalgia thing, because there always will be new people who get drawn into this series. Oh, so this, cult classic is coming back. Maybe I should start watching the original series now. So that's kind of all about this thing about Bleach coming back. And obviously now it's again on a hiatus and it's coming back on summer. I don't know how many episodes this whole arc is going to be. This is just the first part of it, FYI. Now, where should we start? So a bit about the premise here. I'm not going to be doing a full recap about the original anime because it's been a long time since I watched it. But this basically takes 1 month after between the Fullbring arc, which was, by the way, like probably the most hated arc when it was, going on. I remember back then, rating it on Manga Stream and everybody was calling it the Fuck Bring arc or whatever. Like, it was not very popular. It was not very cool. I mean, there were some characters that had cool designs and everything, but for the most part, people did not like this arc, and they kind of considered it really, really bad. And a lot of people kind of also considered it that this might be the ending of the manga. Now, basically, as I said, this 1000-Year Blood War arc is 1 month after the events of the Fullbring arc, and basically there's going to be now a full-on war with the Quincy's and the Soul Society. And Quincy's obviously were thought out to be extinct, and guess what? They actually weren't. And I think this was kind of brought up out of the ass, kind of in a way, because at some point, Yamamoto or somebody else would probably say, oh, by the way, like, I didn't kill this Quincy guy back then 1,000 years ago. He's still alive. And so maybe, Kubo was running out of ideas and he just like, okay, I'm going to bring these guys back. And, so there's a lot of important, like, build-up about the Quincy's and what they are and a bit of their history in the original anime, which is kind of important. Obviously, they do a bunch of lore, but there's not, like, a lot of, like, recaps and things like that on this anime. There are some flashback scenes about, which are mostly aesthetical than like informational. So I think you need to watch some type of a recap or the original anime without the fillers. There's many filler guides out there which will tell you which ones not to watch. And I do have to say, also add here that Bleach did have considerably higher quality filler arcs than One Piece or Naruto, for example. So not all of them were actually too bad, but some of them were kind of lame and some of them were okay, in my opinion. Now, this is animated by Studio Pierrot, who was also in charge of the original anime. But as we can see, the animation style and the quality are quite different. It's a lot more serious in its tones, like the more darker color schemes. And yes, there are a lot of shots and scenes which are done on the night, but still, it's a lot more mature in its look and a lot more serious, as I said. And that obviously has, emphasize that the quality of the animation is a lot more higher, because when Pierrot or any animation studio back in that time are doing these super long running shows which are like hundreds of episodes, you're gonna get time crunches, and that is gonna be affecting the quality of the anime. And there's actually no anime that has run for like shit ton of episodes which had a considerably high amount of animation quality into them. Like, it's just not a thing that you can do. So that's why most of these like very good looking anime of all time always been like 12 episode shows, which have been like a 1 year, differentiation between season 1 and 2 for the most part. But here with this, even though we're not getting these episodes on like one batch, I have to say that the quality is quite high, and it's really up to the par of the finest animations of the modern day. So when you compare, the original Bleach to this one, it's night and day difference, to be honest. And there were a lot of comments also saying that, there's a different tone to it. I wouldn't go far as to say that. I think the comedy is still similar and some other aspects, but definitely there are a lot more darker colors used here, and it looks more mature because of that. Now, in terms of the OST, I'm a big fan of the ED. It's one of those tracks that I listen outside of the anime. That always is a good indicator that I really like it, that I want to listen outside of the anime. So this is a really good one. The opening is okay, and I have to say something that Bleach perhaps historically has by far the best, like it come pretty close with Naruto and Bleach for these long running shows in terms of openings. Like these two have really high quality openings. There are like Rolling Star, I don't remember all the names, but there's Sid, and there's like many big artists that did a lot of songs and openings for Bleach. So the expectations are kind of high. But this theme by Tatsuo Kitani, Scar, I don't think it's up to the level of the other OPs from the original Bleach anime. But obviously we're going to be getting another season, and maybe that will have a better ending and opening songs than this one. But not to say the ED was bad, but it was good. But most of them the OP here. But the OST itself, there were some tracks that we are obviously fond of from the original Bleach soundtrack, which, by the way, is amazing. But I didn't hear a lot of new tracks that would have swayed me and, that would be upstanding, something that I would listen outside of this anime, something that, picked my ear. I didn't really have that watching this season, so I'm hoping that they got some really banger tracks in store for the next season in summer. And in a lot of ways, this whole 13 episode arc is more of a build-up season. Like, you're going to introduce the villains, the Quincy's, and you're going to flesh out a bit of the story behind Ichigo, who he is, who his mother is, more specifically. And then you're going to be, going into this new area in Soul Society. I will not spoil it, but that's also kind of like an interesting build-up, which is kind of hinted already on the Arrancar arc or the Soul Society, whatever arc, the arc before Fullbringer arc, which Aizen is kind of alluding to, the Soul King and everything, that gets a bit more attention here. But there's also things that don't really make a lot of sense to me, like when the Quincy's invade Soul Society, then they leave, and then they give time to recover and stuff like that. Is that a useless plot device to basically make people go into training arcs? Or training montage? Like, sometimes you have to think about, like, okay, this doesn't really make a lot of sense strategically. Like, why the fuck they bail out and why they don't come immediately back and finish up the job. So these are obviously, it's like a bit of like arrogance or whatever, but like sometimes like these writing things are kind of ridiculous. And I always said that Kubo was always a good character designer, but he was never really that excellent of a storyteller. He's still better than the guy in a fucking fairy tale for sure, but like Kubo is not like a top tier writer, but I think the writing is a bit higher here perhaps than in some parts of the original anime, I do want to say. And one of the things also Kubo had a bit of a problem with, and I read a bit of the manga when it was coming out back then, and I remember that I have read most of these parts that where we at, but I haven't, maybe like 3-4 chapters ahead from this moment that where we are in the anime. So I only know a bit of the upcoming war, what's going to happen, but not much. But I have to say, based on what I know, that Kubo has to kill off certain his characters, like these, the problem is that you have some of these, like, Bleach has so many characters, fundamentally has so many characters, and based on the amount of characters that it has, not many of the significant characters actually fucking die. Like, none of the Gote 13 captains, like, it felt like, maybe one of them should have died in that attack or in this battle in the beginning episodes, or well, Yamamoto did die. Okay, there's a bit of a spoiler there, but it's just like maybe more people could have died in this battle, and maybe more characters could have died, because given to the fact that there's so many characters in this show, and he just keeps saving them, even the motherfuckers from the Fullbring arc. Like, he didn't go kill them off, which he probably should have, in my opinion. But